Hey, it's Doug with an opportunity to talk about film, baseball, and faith with actor, writer, and all around good guy. Brett Varvel is here to join us. I understand that beginning at the age of 5, he knew he wanted to be a filmmaker, and now look at that, 2 decades plus of acting and writing. His content has been viewed by millions around the world, and he wants to use the format of film to bring people closer to faith and understanding of Christ. Brett, welcome. Thanks for making time.
It's great to be here with you, Doug. Thank you.
Well, I got to flesh that out a little bit. So, 5 years old, you knew you wanted to be into films. Was there a particular thing you saw or experience you had?
Yeah, 5 years old was a big year for me. That was the year that I came to faith in Christ and was saved by the Lord. But it was also a moment in time where my family had taped the movie Back to the Future off of TV. So it was the edited version. And I got to see that movie for the first time. And it was like a lightning bolt hit my brain. And I knew I must do this. I was so enamored with how the moving pictures and sounds were creating these emotional reactions in me. And I mean, who didn't want to be Marty McFly and be in the DeLorean and just go back in time? And so it just created this lifelong pursuit that I've had of wanting to tell stories and tell them through the art of film. And so I'm very blessed to definitely be living a childhood dream. But what makes it even more fulfilling and exciting for me is that I get to take this love of film and combine it with my love for Jesus and to spread hope into people's lives through the movies that I create.
Well, it's certainly a perfect time to do that. I would say, obviously 20 or even probably less years ago, there really weren't as many opportunities. But now I feel like there's a lot of places and outlets, as well as just a pent-up demand for good faith-based content.
That's right. Yeah, it's really exploded in the last 10, 12 years, especially when you have people like the Kendrick brothers and the Irwin brothers and now Dallas Jenkins and his team with The Chosen. Like all of these different types of people have been coming together, and not just in isolation, but even partnering with each other at times. And it's just really exciting to see more and more believers stepping up and taking this art form that has been really dominated by secular Hollywood for so many years, and now realizing that we can use this art form to proclaim Jesus to a lost and dying world. It's just a really cool time to be living in.
Well, the movie we're focused in on is available on Blu-ray and DVD. It's called Running the Bases. As a baseball fan, had a chance to watch that. Very well done. Curious, the genesis of the project. How did this film and you connect?
So Jimmy and Marty and Johnny, the three guys behind Up to You Films, they've been working on this script for about 6 or 7 years. It was an idea that came to them a long time ago, and over the period of years, they would shop the script and try to get funding. And a lot of people told them, "We'll give you the money, but you need to take Jesus out of the movie." And they stood firm in their faith, and they continued to press forward, and were able to get funding without compromising the message. And then I got a phone call one day from my agent, and she said, "Hey, these guys are interested in casting you as the lead in their baseball movie." And the moment she said baseball, I was like, "Oh, well, I grew up playing baseball. I played varsity baseball. This is a match made in heaven." And she said, "Well, you'd be a baseball coach." Oh, okay. Well, so I didn't get to play baseball in the movie, but sure, yeah, I'll take a look at it. And when I read the script, I was so drawn to the character of Luke, who I play, just with how relatable some of the things that happen in the film were relatable to me, just as a man who works in an industry that oftentimes wants me to stay silent about my faith. And with Luke being a character who is given this opportunity to coach this amazing team at a huge high school in Texas, and is told, "You need to keep your faith silent, and you can't do this thing that you do called running the bases." And so I was so drawn to it just from so much of my own personal life experience being in the faith and entertainment industry. Um, and so, but along with that, the other things that really drew me to the script was just this concept that everybody in this life will experience some form of loss or trial or tragedy or even unanswered questions in life. And I think it's I was just so drawn to the fact that the directors and the writers did not hold back from addressing real life issues, and so I think it's a project that people can relate to when they see the film. They can point to the screen and look at a specific character and say, "That's me. I've thought that. I've said that before." And I think that's where when you establish that form of a connection with your audience, then you can instill a message of hope to them, and hopefully they will receive it. And from the results that we've seen so far from our theatrical run at the theaters, and then even just the pockets of on demand that it's been so far, people have been responding with this message of thank you, and wow, this really touched my soul and inspired me, and so it's just been a cool experience so far.
Yeah, I say it was very well done. Hit you with an emotional punch for some of the things in the beginning part of the film about your character and a family member without giving things away. And then just through the idea of where we are right now with so many of us wanting to be bold, but yet what does that mean? And then when society or even police officials get involved to tell you there's certain behaviors and actions you can't do, we're kind of like, wait a minute, I thought this was America. I thought this was cool to do.
Right. Yeah. And that was something that I've not had a run in with law enforcement about my faith yet, but in my personal life, but many times I have been challenged and questioned or challenged to be silent and questioned about why. In fact, I was asked one time on a film set, "Why do you hate people?" And it caught me so off guard. And I thought, if you really know me, you would know that I don't hate people, but they confuse the message of the Bible with hate. And so much of that, you have to examine who you are as a person in those moments. And you have to really examine, do I really believe what I believe? Am I willing to stand alone and confidence in my faith? There's this line in the film that my character gives, that maybe it's time that we stand we need to stand in our conviction rather than live in fear of our persecution. And I think it's time for people who would call themselves Christians to be willing to stand, sometimes in isolation, but stand together. And as we put it in the movie, to be a disruptor in our society. We only live this life once, and we're going to stand before the Lord one day and give an account for how we lived. And I want to hear the Lord say, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant." And but that only comes if you speak boldly of who He is and the great things that He's done in your life. And so this movie definitely has an incredible amount of hope that it can give to people, but it also will challenge you and make you think.
Were there any stories or challenges in putting it together? Any stories behind the scenes about I don't know, snafus or?
Well, when you're making a baseball movie, you got to be on a baseball field, and that's going to be outside. And so, anytime that inclement weather would pop up, that would really derail us. We actually had one day on set that we had to completely cancel production for that day just because it was pouring outside. And then we were trying not to get behind in our schedule, and we came to set one day, and I looked at the radar, and there were these gigantic thunderstorms coming at us. And I pulled the directors aside, and the three of us just stood off to the side and prayed. And we just begged God to create a circle around us so that the rain would pass around us, so that we wouldn't lose another day of production. And sure enough, when you looked at the radar, there was a literal bubble around our film set. Wow. Which is just kind of a cool thing to see. But honestly, it was one of those types of productions that any movie you're going to encounter difficulties. I've heard the quote, I don't know where this originated from, but making a movie is many problems solved. There's always problems that pop up. But the thing that was so cool was to see how the cast and crew united together under a common goal to tell this story. And I was just so blessed to be a part of this cast. It's an amazing cast, not only full of talented people, but people who are just great human beings. And it was just so fun to play off of them in the scenes and try to tell the story the best that we could.
And I think that includes everybody in the cast except Brad Stein, right? No, he's a friend.
Yeah.
We joke about that.
He
I
was
had no
great.
idea he was in that till he popped up, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing there?
Oh,
That's
that's
awesome.
hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, he
So
was great.
talk about what conversations would you envision families having? They've just wrapped up the film and the credits are rolling. What do you think they're talking about, or what do you hope they're talking about?
Honestly, I hope the first thing that they're talking about is who is this Jesus that they've been talking about in this movie. If my ultimate desire is if people do not have a relationship with Jesus, if they wouldn't call themselves a Christian, that after watching this movie, they would be curious to want to know more about what does a relationship with Jesus look like. That's my personal heartbeat and desire above all else. But I think inevitably I hope that people are having conversations about how they as a family can live out their faith in society, how people can live out their faith in the workplace, how people can encourage one another when difficult circumstances of life hit them. Because, like I said, we're guaranteed suffering in this life of some sort. We live in a fallen world, and you're going to experience tragedy. The question is, how do you get through it? And for those who do not have any faith in Christ, it is kind of a hopeless scenario. And so my hope is that people would have these conversations that draw them to the creator of the universe, and that they live out this life the best they can with a drive towards pleasing the Lord. And using the illustration in the movie of running the bases, ultimately it's, when you run the bases, you don't just want to get to first base or second base, you want to get home. And we personify that as ultimately getting home to heaven, and seeing the Lord in eternity. That's the goal. That's the purpose. And so let's run the bases.
Well, are there other sports films in your future? Because I mean, if I'm not mistaken, American Underdog covered the football realm of things, right?
Yeah,
And now we've covered the baseball. Am I missing one, or has you got hockey and hoops coming? Or
man. If honestly, I would love to be in a basketball movie. Basketball was my favorite sport growing up, in terms of playing a sport. But so far, with both American Underdog and running the bases, I played a coach both times. So I'm hoping maybe I'll get to play an athlete one of these days and show some people what I can do athletically, because I can play several sports.
okay,
In fact, I joked with my agent when I heard, before I even knew I was going to get cast in American Underdog. I emailed my agent. I said, if they don't have somebody for Kurt Warner, tell them I want to play Kurt Warner because I can throw a football. But Zachary Levi was the obvious choice for that role. But I was blessed to be a part of that project. So yeah, hopefully maybe there's another sports movie down the road. We'll see.
okay. So if anybody's thinking about a player coach scenario, that would probably be the best hybrid there.
That'd be ideal. That'd be ideal. Yeah.
Well, I certainly want to be respectful of the time. Is there anything else that we miss, or want to make sure people catch about running the bases?
If they want to see this movie, it's on demand and streaming on a lot of different platforms like Amazon Prime and Vudu and Spectrum and places like that. But the exciting thing is this movie is finally hitting stores in the form of the DVD, the Blu-ray, and the 4K Ultra HD for those of you who love to see movies in the highest quality possible. And I think this is like one of the very first independent faith-based films to do a 4K Ultra HD disc, which is kind of uncommon. But it's going to be available at Walmart, Target, Best Buy, and Amazon on February 21st. And I would just highly encourage people to go out there and buy the disc. When you do that, you're supporting faith-based content. You're voting with your dollars to see more of this type of content be created. And it's an opportunity for you to take that physical disc and give it to people and pass it around and have a movie night at your house. And it's just a really cool ministry opportunity for people to take part in.